Hey Ethan. So I know we've never spoken before, but could you tell people a bit more like about your background and what is it that you do?
So my name's Ethan Golden, and I help founders with their client acquisition, help them use LinkedIn to build a system for consistently booking in sales calls and then turning those sales calls into new revenue for the business.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Sort of similar to what we do as well. So, I mean, how did you get started actually, in the business world?
He saw this guy called Gary V, and he basically said to start posting content. And I was 20 at the time, 21, about 5 years ago. And he said to start posting content. I sort of kept saying it, and I thought if I want to start a business one day, or I want to build a successful business one day, because I was running a small one at the time, content creation is going to be a useful skill because that's what I perceived marketing to be at the time. Because I'm 26, so I grew up with social media, and so I thought whatever I do, I'm going to need to be able to make Instagram content about it, right? Because I thought everyone's on Instagram. So I just started posting. I made a podcast about like a fashion business I was running at the time. Barely call it a business. A bit of money I was making with fashion, and I met loads of people, and I created Instagram content and TikTok content and LinkedIn content and made all sorts of stuff. And then one day, a guy reached out to me, and he said he wanted a coffee chat. And I was about 9 months into making content with no money made. I didn't know what a coffee chat was. I wasn't used to like networking with other business people. But I said yes. I got on a call. I really didn't take it very seriously. I remember I was in a hoodie. I think I was like smoking a cigarette in my room. Like I wasn't. I didn't think it was a serious meeting. He just wanted to talk. So I was like, all right. And then he told me in that meeting that he'd raised $2.5 million and that he needed someone to make content for an app that was related to fashion. And did I want to do it? And I was like, okay, interesting. As soon as I heard 2.5 million, I was like, a much bigger number than I've ever spoken to someone about at the time. So I kind of sat up and I said to him, maybe. And then he said, how much do you want for it? And I said, honestly, I don't know. I'm in my nan's bedroom right now. I've got no idea how much people charge for making content. And he said he'd give me $1,000 a month. And at the time, I was selling secondhand clothes and trainers on Depop and eBay, these apps for selling stuff. I was making like £5, £10. I think I'd work out how to make like £20 profit a flip. So I had to sell like 50 things, and there was a lot of work involved to make 1,000. And he was telling me he'd give me 1,000 for a couple of TikToks. And so I said to him there and then, like, don't worry about a contract. Just you send me 1,000 and I will make you a shitload of content. And I end up working for about 9 months, maybe a bit longer, but at least 9 months. And that's how I got introduced. So I started making content. One day someone paid me for it. That happened about 3.5, 4 years ago. And then it was just a case of working out how to do that on purpose and get more people to pay me for it and then deliver the things they want me to deliver. And then it's kind of step by step taken me to where I am today.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. Makes sense. And how did you actually, on LinkedIn, you're at about 30,000 followers now. How did you get the first like 5,000 followers?
That's a good question. I don't think I've answered that before. No one's asked me that. A big bit of it was connections, just sending connections to other people because then they connect back, which gets you a follower. I don't really know. I remember it being quite slow. I didn't like blow up from 0 to 5,000. It wasn't one of these accounts that comes on, posts a pretty selfie, and just gets bare followers quick. It was a pretty slow grind. But I do remember I started making about 10K a month when I was on 7,000 followers. So I don't think audience growth was ever really a priority for me. I mean, I'm a human, so I care about it a bit, but I never really went on a phase of like trying to get more followers. I really was just trying to write better content and get people to book sales calls with me.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And how do you get, I want to sort of dive into the whole content creation and strategy behind the organic side of things. How do you actually get the ideas, first of all?
By listening to my clients, by listening to prospects, the whole idea behind using content to generate leads is show someone for free on the internet that you understand their problems and know how to solve them. And so the source of my content are the things I hear my clients say are issues. The source of my content are things that I discuss with the team that I know are fixing problems that our clients have. They're things people say to me on sales calls, like objections that I run into, or reasons that people didn't close, or situations that people are in that I can relate to, and so I can write about myself. I listen to my prospects and I listen to my customers, and they use that information to say, well, these are the problems they're presenting to me. Those are the problems I should write about in my content, because it will get more of those people to come towards me.
Yeah. And I think, you've done a really good job because I know people with, maybe like 10x the amount of followers, 100,000 followers, 300,000 followers, and, they're still not making as much money as they should through just having a massive audience. I think you've done a really good job with the monetization side, and also with part of that, I feel like you're always speaking about sort of the same topic and the same insights, and that just really hammers down that once you've seen, Ethan's post 30 times in your feed for a month, just talking about, that we should be using LinkedIn to sign clients, and now you know that you believe in it. I think that just ends up being a really easy way to book for people to build trust and then end up booking in with you. Would you say
I
that's a
find it,
factor?
I find that we don't need to talk about that many different topics. I think from my perspective, it can feel repetitive sometimes because I'm saying the same things over and over, and I get a little bit bored of saying the same topics. Clients that I work with feel the same thing. But at the end of the day, the service I provide solves a few very simple problems. I'm using LinkedIn, but my activity is kind of all over the place. I don't have a system for signing clients. I'm not consistently booking sales calls. I'm not consistently closing their sales calls. I'm trying to use LinkedIn. I'm not making money. That's pretty much what my service does. There's not that many different things we deliver to clients to solve that problem because it's not that complex a problem for us to solve. And so what that ultimately means is there's not that many things to talk about. How to send DMs that book calls, how to write content that books calls, how to set up your profile to book calls, and how to be the kind of person that does the work you need to do to book the calls. There's not that much to it. So yeah, I do talk about a lot of the same things over and over again, but it's because my clients face the same problems. And so why it's repetitive to me. We book more and more calls every month because we're just getting better and better at talking about those core problems that our clients have.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like the hooks transitioning onto like the actual post itself. I feel like the hooks, is pretty much what's going to get you 80% of the results. So, what's your thought process when you're writing hooks or drafting hooks for new posts or for clients?
Honestly, I'm not the person to talk to about copywriting. I don't know much about hooks or post structures or any of this stuff. Like when I started LinkedIn, all the people that started at the same time as me, they all get more likes and followers than I do. I think I'm behind everyone. Like I actually don't know anyone that's got less than me. Lara's got more than me. Izzy's got more than me. So does Shoaib. So does Niall. I'm trying to think of anyone who I've got a bigger audience than, but I don't think I do. Yeah, they're all better with that stuff. I don't know how to write hooks to get better likes. I'll be entirely honest with you. Like I don't. If you ask me for a hook writing lesson right now, I ain't gonna be able to give it to you. I can make some shit up, but I don't know. I keep them short. I put a number in it because I know that performs pretty well. I write my hooks based on what do I need to write in this first two sentences that gets my target audience to look at that and say, I have that issue and this person can help me solve it. That's how I qualify a hook. And some of them get loads of likes, some of them don't. Ultimately, I'm just writing every bit of content as if my target customer was reading it and I'm speaking as best as I can to the words they use, the situation they're in, the way they feel and think and describe their own problem, and help them see how I'm able to solve that problem for them. And I haven't relied on copywriting tricks or hook writing tactics or any of this stuff. Like a lot of my posts are just I don't even do like carousels that much. I've really not used the LinkedIn platform features that much, and I think it's because I didn't come from just LinkedIn because used a few different platforms before. I realized that while there's tactical stuff that's specific to each platform, I'm not interested in growing on LinkedIn or YouTube or Instagram or any of the platforms I did before. I'm interested in getting customers to see my stuff and want to spend money with me. And you don't need to be that good at writing hooks to do that. You need to be able to speak clearly to your customers' problems and help them solve them to do that. And that's what I've been focusing my energy on.
Yeah, I think that's still definitely, a golden nugget focusing on the problem when we're going for the hook, adding the numbers in, keeping it short. And in terms of like specific post types, you might not have labeled them but are you thinking about, oh, I'm gonna do a lead magnet, every month or an authority case study every week? Are you thinking about stuff like that, or what types of posts are you making?
So I split my content into three types. In marketing, this is broader than LinkedIn. There's lots of different models you can use for lead gen. Many people use funnel stages, so like top, middle, bottom of funnel. I used to use them, but I didn't find that it was very effective for that. The point of a model is I'm meant to be able to put certain inputs in and predictably produce outputs. Like science is the process of being able to predict something before it happens. Because if you can run an experiment and get very, very specific outcomes that you predicted were going to happen, you've proved that this is a repeatable thing. This chemical always reacts with this chemical under these circumstances. Or on LinkedIn, writing these things or writing these posts always produces a certain output, which is number of calls booked. So it becomes a bit of a science, you know? And I think in terms of the funnel stages, top, middle, bottom of funnel, lots of people talk about that. I was never really able to draw a solid link between top, middle, bottom of funnel ratios and a predictable number of leads on the end. Kind of, a little bit. It was better than doing nothing, but it was never very solid. The thing I found that produces a really solid output in terms of number of calls booked has been instead using the model of awareness stages. So again, this is like common marketing knowledge. This isn't a super secret thing. It's just not many people apply it to the context of LinkedIn. Most people's posts that I notice don't talk about awareness stages. So every customer has a degree of awareness around the pain that they're experiencing. We're all experiencing pain. Maybe you're tired right now. You don't know why you're tired. You don't know what the cause of it is, but you know you're tired. Then you've got people that are pain aware. Some people are problem aware. So they have a pain and they know what the cause of the problem is. For example, you're scrolling on your phone for an hour before you go to bed. Some people are pain aware, I'm tired. Some people are problem aware, I'm tired because I'm scrolling on my phone. And some people are solution aware. I'm tired because I'm scrolling on my phone and there's an app I can download for £3.99 and it will cut off all my apps before after 10 p.m. So I can't use them. Awareness stage model of pain aware, I know something's wrong. Problem aware, I know something's wrong and I know what's causing it. And solution aware, I know what's wrong, I know what's causing it, and I know how to solve it are the three types of content I write. Because pain aware people become speaking to a problem people have, they're experiencing some issue. You want to sign clients and it's not working. Here's how I do it. That's like a nice pain aware piece. Problem aware is you know you're not signing clients because your outreach sucks. So then I'd write a post that says, this is how to do outreach on LinkedIn. Solution aware is I know I've got this broad, I want to sign clients. I know it's because my outreach sucks. And I know that I can hire a coach to teach me to do outreach. I'm solution aware. For that, I'll post proof that my post is that I've got evidence I've helped a client get good at outreach and start booking calls. I say this to say the model I use is awareness stages: pain aware, problem aware, solution aware. I just make sure that each week I'm writing content that speaks to pain, content that speaks to problems that are known, and content that speaks to people that know about a solution and are looking for a good one.
Okay, yeah, I mean, well, I've that's massive as well. I've been splitting it into like technical, authoritative, and personal, which, it's not really targeting a specific audience. I think the way you've put it is a bit more structured and fits
Do
together
you,
more
do
like
you know
you
what it
put
is
it,
with
right?
words like that, right? Like people talk about building an authoritative personal brand. What does that mean?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
From my eyes, I would say a personal brand which is an authority, I guess someone that would be established as an expert, somebody that knows what they're talking about and has proof to back it up.
Okay. So how do you know if someone's more of an authority than someone else?
I guess in our case, when we're selling B2B, it would be based on the case studies, video testimonials, and how much they can back up their claim.
So then is authority, by your definition, just your ability to prove your results and prove your claims?
I would say it would be the way that I've been seeing it is like the way that you can, yes, I guess somebody that has results and somebody who can back it up.
Okay. Well, then, if we want to become the most authoritative we can, why would we not just post proof of results 7 days a week? Why do you post any other kind of content if the goal is to become authoritative and authority is done by showing results? Why do we not do that?
I would say it's probably because that's only going to appeal to a smaller portion of people. I feel like maybe we need to
Perfect.
mix it in with like personal stories. We need to mix it in with some just valuable content because, like
Exactly.
you said, there's different stages, right? For the problem aware, pain aware, and solution aware.
And so there you go. So people use this word authority, but what we've worked out in this conversation is that actually only matters to a very small portion of people, and it's pretty hard to measure. So everyone uses this buzzword of, oh, you need an authoritative personal brand. No one can really tell me what authority is in any clear, useful definition. No one can really measure it. And most people agree it's only one small part of a bigger thing anyway. And so a lot of the words people use to describe marketing stuff. When you actually ask them, like, what does that mean and how do you measure it? 95% of the time, there isn't an answer. And I find a lot in the personal branding space because it's not a form of marketing that's held accountable to driving revenue, which most other forms of marketing are. Like you can't call yourself a good SEO person if you're not driving website traffic and that website traffic isn't turning into booked calls or whatever the KPI is. It's obvious you're not good at SEO. If you run a 12-month SEO campaign, you get a bunch of website visitors and none of them become customers. That's obvious. Whereas personal branding is given this exception because we use words like authority. But what does that mean? What's authority? How do I use authority? How do I measure authority? How is authority useful to my business? And the reason there aren't answers to those questions is because it's not. It's just a word that people use. Actually, if your model can't prove that by doing certain actions, the outcome is booking qualified calls and those turning into sales, it's not a very useful model. And I find that most of the personal branding people use models like content pillars, which is kind of what you just described there, content pillars. How do content pillars translate into revenue for a business? They don't in most cases, which is why people produce these completely random results and why I've tried content pillars, I've tried funnel stages, I've tried lots of different models for looking at it. And the thing I found that has produced the biggest correlation between doing some work and getting an outcome I want, which is calls booked and sales closed, awareness stages is the best model I found for doing that.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And for the different stages of awareness, is there a ratio, or are you posting like just, one pain aware, one problem aware, one solution aware? Or is there like a different ratio of posts that you're posting for the different awareness stages?
So I'm finding something quite interesting there. This is a perfect example of what I just said, right? So I used to do 20% quote unquote top of funnel, or what I'd now call pain aware, 70% quote unquote middle of funnel, what I'd now call problem aware, and then 10% solution aware or bottom of funnel. And then I looked at my numbers one day at my top performing month, which at the time was April this year. We've done better than that now, but it was April this year, and I think we had done like 60 calls in a month or something like that. And in my best month, I hadn't followed that ratio at all. I'd done 40% pain aware, 40% problem aware, 20% solution aware. So again, this advice is that 20-70-10 ratio is a thing a lot of people say. But then I actually looked at some data and I bet you a bunch of the people saying 20-70-10 don't have any data to back that up. They're just saying it, so we will repeat it. But I looked at the data and what I found was that a 40-40-20 ratio seems to be working better. In theory, pain aware is the biggest portion of the market. Everyone has a pain that can be a customer. Some know they have a problem, and even less know the solution. So there should always be more pain aware people than there are problem aware people, than there are solution aware people. Hence why it becomes this funnel shape, right? So in theory, the pain aware people are the biggest portion of the market to go after. And once you become solution aware, you're already comparing me to 3 different people. So I've noticed on my sales calls, my close rate tanks on solution aware people because they're already comparing me amongst multiple options. Even once you're problem aware, you're much closer to being solution aware. And so you're potentially, it's a bit of a spectrum, right? But I imagine that if you're problem aware, you're already a bit more in the LinkedIn world. So you've already seen a couple of people like me posting about some stuff. You might not specifically be comparing solutions, but you're a lot closer. Whereas the pain aware people, they don't even realize yet what the problem is. They just know something's wrong. They're just not making the money they want to make. It's pretty broad. They're nowhere near knowing the person that can solve it for them. So in my mind, and the data is kind of backing this up, but I'll show you what the theory is and how far my data has gone. In theory, pain aware is the biggest portion of the market, and it's the easiest to sell because there's no competition, because they're not aware yet of the people that can solve this pain for them. They don't even know where the pain's coming from. So the first person that can show them the reason your revenue is inconsistent is because you don't consistently write the same amount of content, do the same number of reach outs, and then measure and improve results every week. The first person that offered them that solution, they got no one to compare to because they've only just realized there's a solution for this pain. You took them through the whole process. So in theory, pain aware is the biggest portion of the market. You're going to get the most reach on your content when you speak to pain as opposed to problem solution. And those people are going to be easier to close because there's less competition. That's the theory. What I'm definitely seeing is the biggest portion of my leads come from pain aware people. That quite top of funnel piece, the people that don't know yet what the source of their issue is. And I'm going to check to see if my sales data also says that those people close the easiest. My current ratio is 40-40-20. I think it should lean even further into mostly speaking to pain aware people because they're the biggest portion of the market.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. And for the output of content, you're just doing, is it one post a day? Is it two posts a day?
The aim is one post a day. Honestly, I get busy with shit. I think last week I posted three, which is not good enough, but the aim is 7 times a week.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Like for the different awareness, so for Pain Aware, which you said, has brought you the most leads and that's the biggest audience or target, what types of posts are you doing? Are you making posts where you're giving a bunch of value? Are you making posts where you're talking about like personal stories, or is it case studies?
So I think this is the flip between thinking in terms of content pillars and thinking in terms of funnel and thinking in terms of awareness stages. Stories are relevant whether you have a pain, whether you have a problem, or whether you lead a solution. It doesn't change. You can tell a story about I had the pain of I needed money because I was poor. So I was constantly experiencing the pain of not having enough money in my life and thinking that it would solve all my problems. I could also tell a story of how when I started fixing that problem, the problem I had was I didn't have to use LinkedIn to sign clients, so I built a system, and it's a system that I use today. I could also tell a story about me solving this problem for someone else. So helping Cameron get to a place where he's signing 3 clients a month, each of them about £5,000. Each of them involved the story. It doesn't matter. The type of content you do in terms of like whether it's a carousel, whether it's a story, whether it's a case study, whatever it is not actually relevant at all when you're thinking in terms of awareness stages. You're just thinking, am I speaking to someone that has a general pain, aka I'm not making enough money? Am I speaking to someone that has a problem? I'm not making enough money on LinkedIn and I've been trying for 3 months and it's not working. Or speaking to someone that has a solution. I'm not making enough money. I've been trying to do this shit on LinkedIn for 3 months and I'm about to hire a coach for it and pick it between three different people because I need someone to help me solve a problem. Whether you execute for a story or a case study, whatever it is, doesn't make a difference. It's just the level of awareness that you're speaking to.
Okay. Yeah, 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 for sure. And but looking at like lead magnets specifically, because I think this is something, specific to LinkedIn. I've seen some of your opinions on them, and I'd just be curious for you to say, like, what are your thoughts on them, and should everyone do them?
I think the idea of a lead magnet is that you know what problem your customer has, and so you offer to solve that problem to them for free. You therefore find a bunch of people that have the intent of solving a problem, because then you can pitch them on paying you to solve the problem. I mean, that's the theory and principle behind the lead magnet. The thing is, that's the same theory behind running an ad, and it's the same theory behind running a cold email, and it's the same theory behind sending a LinkedIn DM and any of the other marketing channels you use. You're just trying to find someone that you know have a problem, send them something that makes them go, yeah, let's have a call about you helping me solve the problem. It doesn't matter. You can do it with lead magnets, you can do it with content, you can do it with outreach, you can delete LinkedIn from your phone, you can do it on Instagram, you can do it on any of the apps. It doesn't matter which one you do. It just matters that you focus long enough on actually getting good at it to make it work. So if you want to do lead magnets, then by all means, go do them. Just make sure you run one every single week for the next 30 weeks until you've tested lots and lots and lots of different pain points and you made your lead magnets much, much, much better. After every single one, you measure how many people downloaded the lead magnet, how many of those people were qualified, and how many of those people that got booked onto a call. And if you do that consistently for 20, 30 lead magnets, by the 30th, you'll be good at it and you'll be getting consistent calls booked from it. That is what I did, but I did it with content and outreach instead of with lead magnets. They all work. There's no like particular, I don't think on LinkedIn right now, there's a particular like piece of arbitrage. There's nowhere where you put in effort and you get significantly more results than everything else. Some shit that just doesn't work. But for the most part, content, outreach, lead magnets, webinars, they're all kind of doing the same shit. It doesn't matter which one you pick. It matters that you keep picking that one for a long enough period of time to get good at it. I personally didn't pick lead magnets. I've now started running lead magnets because I'm seeing some good results of them. But the results I got from the last lead magnet, I think we got like 9 calls booked from it. It's going to be insignificant to how many I get from the 30th lead magnet I do when I've really worked out how do I put one out and get those people to book in. The trick is just to pick one thing and get good at it. And if you think that's lead magnets, great, but just stay with that until you develop the skill, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I noticed. Lastly, magnet. Yeah, that's super valuable. I think you're completely right about that with the tracking the metrics. Then just keep. I always tell people, If you post for 3 months straight and you've got one post a day, even two posts a day, like you're guaranteed to have something that's an outlier and performs above the rest. It's just bound to happen over time. But touching on the outreach side, which you mentioned, so do you use Sales Nav, and who are you outreaching to, and is there any sort of principles? I don't want to say script or template, because I feel like it's more valuable if people can take principles and then recreate that for their own situation.
Yeah. So in terms of what I'm using SalesNav for, I'm using SalesNav because on every other platform, if I wanted to get a very, very specific ICP, so CEOs that work for eight-figure companies based in the UK have at least 50 employees in the manufacturing industry or whatever it was. If I wanted to get that specific, I'd have to run an ad. LinkedIn is the only platform that lets me, without running an ad, access that data because you go on SalesNav and it lets you filter by everyone who's made a LinkedIn profile. So you can build a list of a very, very specific group of people, but then add them to your network and post organic content for them. It's a unique feature of the LinkedIn system. All the other accounts, like say Instagram, for example, you can write about a certain topic, but you can't control necessarily who's seeing that content. You just have to keep writing about it or sharing posts about it until eventually they find you. On LinkedIn, you can go find them. It's the only platform that lets you find eight-figure CEOs and directly connect with them. No other platform lets you do that. For £80 a month, I think that's invaluable, right? What is the value of being able to send a connection request to a CEO that makes 10 mil a year? I'd argue more than £80 a month, and you can send 100 a week. So I think SailNav is super, super valuable, and a lot of people don't use it because it feels a bit overwhelming to look at the start. But it's just one of those things of like when I had a Samsung, I got an iPhone. For the first like 15 minutes, it was kind of confusing. And then I was like, it's fucking easy. It's an iPhone. Everyone uses it. Sales are the same. When you open it, it's confusing. And then you spend like 15 minutes on it. It's really not that confusing. It's pretty simple to use. That's what I'm using it for. Send in 100 to 200, depends on how warm your account is. Connections to the ideal client I have, a really, really specific list of the people that I want to work with. And then in terms of the outreach, we start by sending 25 messages a week to that list when they accept the connection. And we follow a pretty simple three-step process of compliment, question, and close. So we say something nice to the other person to prove that this isn't a copy and paste message. I bothered to look at your profile for 2 minutes. I found something in your website. In your profile picture, there's boats in the back, so maybe you do fishing or some shit. Say something that shows this is not a copy and paste message. I bothered to look at your stuff for 2 minutes. And then ask a question that uncovers pain. Ask a question that gets them to say, yes, I have a problem, or I don't have a problem. For the people that do say they have a problem, we then simply offer them a call. The process is very simple. Compliment, question, close. Sometimes you need 2 or 3 questions to get the pain out of them. I
Yeah,
guarantee that if someone goes out and does 100 reach outs with that process, by the 100th, they'll kind of get it. They'll book some calls. And obviously, we've done thousands. So, like the tactical execution of how exactly you phrase that question or what the perfect way to do a compliment is or how quickly you can do that process, that does come with practice. That's something you can speed up with someone else helping you. But like just roughly working out how to send someone a message on social media and get them to book a call is genuinely not that complicated. It's the fact that people won't do the 100 reach outs. They'll do six and then be like, oh, that took like 45 minutes. That's way too long. And then they stop. Or they'll do 25 for a week and they'll really do it. But then next week they'll only do 12. And by the fourth week, they fall off. And actually, if you just 100 a month, 25 a week, compliment, question, close, and bother to do that, I've literally never seen it. Like I'm telling you, not one single client has done 100 reach outs and not booked a call. Every single person books a call. Many people I've given this advice to don't do the 100 reach outs. And so they never book the calls.
yeah, yeah, and that's what I've noticed a lot as well. Is just the people which are succeeding in outreach on LinkedIn is not the people sending the chat GPT messages, the over the top compliments. Is the people just actually taking the time, look at your profile, and just make something hyper personalized, something human as well. I feel like a lot of people are also focusing on being a bit more professional, because LinkedIn is greatly considered this professional platform. But at the end of the day, we're both humans. So I think seeing it in that way and really just trying to resonate with them on a personal level as well, I think that works really well. So is there any like other tools you're using outside of LinkedIn? Maybe even just like for your business itself. Are you using Notion, like Clio? Are there any other tools you're using?
Yeah, I use a few. I use Shield to look at my LinkedIn analytics. I don't use it a ton, but it's only like £15 a month. It just helps me round some numbers up pretty easily. I use Clio a little bit. I use Clio to look at accounts when they were new. Like if I go on my account right now and I post a thumbs up emoji, it will get like, I don't know, 50 to 100 likes. If most people just post a thumbs up emoji, nothing's going to happen. If Elon Musk posts a thumbs up emoji, he'll get like 1 million likes for no reason, just because he already has a brand and there's weight that comes with it. So sometimes it's not useful to look at an account like mine and go, oh, what are they doing? Because I didn't do this to get here. What I can do now is, honestly, my content doesn't have to be as good anymore. Like I can rush it a little bit and I'm still going to book calls that week. Whereas 2 years ago, it had to be like perfect. I had to really get it right to earn the couple of calls I was going to book. So I use Clio because it lets me look at my account but 2 years ago. So I can see what did he post early days to get the account to this point, because I think that's useful information. That's what I use Clio for. I use this thing called Kondo, Kondo, but it's the best LinkedIn inbox tool I found, like by a fucking mile. It's really not expensive as well. But yeah, I'd highly, highly recommend that. LinkedIn inbox is shit for tagging stuff and just keeping on top of conversations, but this has allowed me to build a real nice, easy pipeline to work through my conversations. I use ReplyGrow for automating the connection requests. There's tons of tools that let you do it, but ReplyGrow is like £50, which is cheap-ish for an automation tool. I just use it to send blank connections, but it does that for me. The clients use it as well. And then, yeah, I organize my work on Notion, keep track of everything in the business basically using Notion and Google Drive. Those are the big things I can think of. I don't think there's anything else major that I use. I'm not, again, I don't use like that many tools and shit. Do you know what I mean? I only found Conda like 2 weeks ago and it's just mad convenient, but I haven't used it up to this point. It's this thing I say again and again about it not being that complicated, but it's not that complicated. It's like you don't need a bunch of different software to do it. You don't need to be that good at sales and marketing, because I didn't have any sales and marketing experience and I worked out how to do this. I'm not like super social media literate. Like, I grew up with a phone in my pocket. I've got like fucking 500 Instagram followers on my personal. Like, I didn't come in with some pre-existing conception of like these like complicated strategies. I write 7 posts a week. I send 25 reach outs. I've consistently done that for almost 3 years, specifically on LinkedIn and more on other platforms. And just by doing the same thing again and again and again and again, you just start to work out how to get those things to produce the outcome I want, which is sales goals.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know I keep, that's not the first time I've heard Conda. I think it's slowly people are realizing that, it's actually a super useful tool. And with the automation stuff, is the have you ever found that there's like a risk of getting banned and things like that? Because that's always what's stopped me. And I know a lot of other people from using tools like that.
So I don't use them to automate messages. I use them to automate blank connection requests. This is my perspective on it. LinkedIn doesn't care about automated messages, because if it did, my comment section wouldn't be full of bots and my inbox wouldn't be full of automated messages. It's clearly not banning people from the platform for that, because it's all over the place constantly, all the time. What they're trying to stop people doing is using those tools to like scam other people and to give the platform a bad reputation. So if you're automating messages and those messages have links in them that link to an external place, then yeah, your account might get blacklisted, because that could be perceived by the platform as a scam. But the purpose that I'm using it for, which is just to click the connection button instead of me manually pressing it, I've never run into any issues doing it. I've never run into an issue client doing it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, and more on the high level now. I guess what was the biggest mistake in the last 2 years that you made, and what would you have done differently?
Biggest mistake in the last 2 years? Probably worrying about stuff. Didn't produce much of anything, all the worrying. I don't think it ever does. I very consistently have had the exact same experience over and over, which shows that I'm not necessarily learning from it, but I'm trying to learn from it. It's a hard lesson to learn. But I will have a good month, or I'll have like an okay month, or I had a bad month. Let's put it simply in terms of like the amount of revenue we do. Irrespective of how much I worry that month, by the end, I always end up doing all right. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's slightly worse, but I've never once had a month where like it all came to a fucking end. It's always fine. But I have many months where I feel like it's about to all come to an end. And I sit with the anxiety and the worry of it all coming to an end and me not being good enough and it all not working. But like 4 and a bit years ago, since I started posting on Instagram, like I'm still here and I'm still going week on week, month on month. So the biggest mistake I've probably made in the last 2 years is the amount of energy I've wasted on thinking about it going wrong and thinking that I can't do it. And I've learned over the last 5 years of trying to make some money on the internet that the game is just to continue showing up. It's just to get through this week and then get through this month. And then when times start to get better, sometimes I go on a little like, most of this year has been pretty sweet. Like I started growing the team in March. Can't say I've had like that bad a month or that much stress up until probably last month. So I had a good like 6 months of just flying about, going to different countries, making good money, team was growing, everything was kind of coming easy. So the stints, the amount of anxiety and stuff has slowly faded off as time has passed. And I'm not saying I can control how I feel. There's only so much I can do about a feeling inside me, but paying it more attention than it needs to be, it always ends up being fine. Sometimes I don't hit the goal, but it always ends up being fine. Nothing like catastrophic goes wrong. So a lot of the problems I think I have, or the feeling I have that there's some issue, I don't think it's really based on reality. And I'm wasting a lot of energy on the what ifs that never come true.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that, including myself as well. And just before we jump off, what would you say if you had to, say one thing overall to anyone watching you, to anyone, you've spoken to tons of people in your client situations, people that want to get meetings, get clients on LinkedIn. What's one thing that you'd tell them? Maybe something, maybe like the 20% that would get them, let's say, 80% of the results as a whole.
Keep showing up, especially on the days when you feel like you don't want to show up. Because those days are the days that most people don't, which is why most people don't have the things that they want. I'd make the argument that 97% of the things I want from life are just on the other side of me being brave enough to consistently ask for them. And when I don't get them, be brave enough to keep asking for them for as long as it takes until I get the thing. And the thing is, it normally doesn't take that long. It just feels long because I'm a human and I'm not very good at thinking long term. But the body I want from the gym is basically like 4 to 6 months of consistency. The money I want to make is like 3 to 6 months consistency. Most of the significant things I've ever wanted in my life weren't actually that hard to get. They just felt very hard because they required me to do something which humans find very hard to do, which is just keep showing up. Whether you get the results or not, just keep showing up.
I think that's super valuable as well. I've noticed that. I probably quit, posting on LinkedIn like two times, and they were both probably in like a 2 month span when I had just joined. Posting, you're getting like two likes a post, nothing's going well, but then afterwards it's just a matter of output and output and output, and then at some point, the algorithms or you're going to get rewarded for everything that you've put in, and it's on the other side of those days.
You reminded me of something I used to say to myself all the time, and I just remembered now. And it's when I look at the goal I have, is to think how many other people have done this thing. Like, is this a normal thing to do? I'm not saying I want to be Elon Musk and go to fucking Mars for the first time. My goal was make 10K a month. Are there loads of people who do that? Yeah. My new goal is to make 100K a month as a business. Are there loads of businesses that do that? Yeah. Now, is it easy? No. So can I say that for sure it's going to happen in 6 months' time? No. But is it reasonable to assume that if I put 100K at the top of this whiteboard and every day for the next 10 years I try and hit that number, is it reasonable to assume that at some point I hit the fucking number? Even if it takes like 5 years, it's probably reasonable because so many other people have done it. I'm not like reinventing the fucking wheel. I've just got to keep trying until it happens. And that's so true of most things in life. Like I'm talking all areas. I'm talking like my ability to speak to a woman I find attractive, my ability to go to the gym, my ability to maintain a certain diet, my ability to like learn a new language. Most things, if you can see literally millions of other humans that have done it, it's probably just about trying for long enough. And some of us are super talented and get it in like 2 fucking days. And fuck those people because it doesn't take me 2 days. It takes me a long fucking time. But for most of us, if other humans are doing it, you can probably do it too. If you cannot do the thing that most other humans do, which is give up.
Yeah, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you jumping on. I think there's been like tons of golden nuggets in here, lots and lots of value and points that people could take away. So, where can people find you if they want more?
LinkedIn, Ethan Golden, ETHAN space GOLDING. I don't use anything else, so yeah, that's the spot.
Perfect. All right. See you guys. See ya. Bye
Bye.
bye.